Sam shook her head. Mimir just presented the choices. Magic and normal life are mutually exclusive. Only people who have known great pain have the capacity to learn magic. They have to be like hollow cups. Even Odin gave up an eye to drink from Mimir's well. But that was just the beginning. In order to learn the runes, Odin fashioned a noose and hanged himself from a branch of the world tree for 9 days. My stomach checked to see if it had anything left to retch. It settled for dry spasms. That's not right. But it was necessary, Sam said. Odin pierced his side with his own spear and hung there in pain, without food or water, until the runes revealed themselves. The pain made him hollow, a receptacle for magic. I looked at Hearthstone. I wasn't sure whether to hug him or wake him up and scold him. How could anyone willingly choose to hold on to that much pain? What kind of magic could possibly be worth the cost? I've done magic, I said. Healing, walking into flames, blasting weapons out of people's hands. But I've never suffered like Hearth has. Samira pursed her lips. That's different, Magnus. You were born with your magic, an inheritance from your father. You can't choose your abilities or change them. Alf Sadir is innate. It's also lesser magic compared to what the runes can do. Lesser? I didn't want to argue about whose magic was more impressive, but most of the things I'd seen Hearthstone do had been pretty subtle. I told you back in Valhalla, Sam said. The runes are the secret language of the universe. Learning them, you can recode reality. The only limits on your magic are your strength and your imagination. So why don't more people learn runes? That's what I've been trying to tell you. It requires incredible sacrifice. Most people would die before they got as far as Hearthstone has. I tucked Hearthstone's scarf around his neck. I understood now why he'd been willing to risk rune magic. To a guy with his troubled past, recording reality must have sounded pretty good. I also thought about the message he'd whispered into my mind. He called me brother. After everything Hearthstone had been through with his own brother's death, that could not have been easy. So Hearth made himself an empty cup, I said. Like Pertho? Trying to fill himself with the power of magic, Sam agreed. I don't know all the meanings of Pertho, Magnus, but I do know one thing. Hearthstone cast it when we were falling from the cliff into the river. I tried to remember, but I'd been overwhelmed with exhaustion as soon as I gripped the sword. What did it do? It got us here, Sam said, and it left Hearthstone like that. She nodded to his snoring form. I can't be sure, but I think Pertho is his... What do Christians call it? Hail Mary pass. He was throwing that rune like you'd throw dice from a cup, turning our fate over to the gods. My palm was now bruised from clenching the stone. I still wasn't sure why Hearthstone had given it to me, but I felt a strong instinct to keep it for him, if only temporarily. No one should carry that kind of fate alone. I slipped the rune into my pocket. We trekked through the wilderness in silence for a while. At one point, Jack led us over the river on a fallen tree trunk. I couldn't help looking both ways for giant squirrels before crossing. In one place, the snow was so deep we had to hop from boulder to boulder, while Otis the goat speculated about which one of us would slip, fall, and die first. I wish you'd be quiet, I muttered. I also wish we had snowshoes. You'd need Ulir for that. Who? The god of snowshoes, said Otis. He invented them. Also archery, I don't know, other stuff. I had never heard of a snowshoe god, but I would have paid real money if the god of snowmobiles had come roaring out of the woods right then to give us a lift. We kept on trudging. Once we spotted a stone house on the summit of a hill. The gray light in the mountains played tricks with my perception. I couldn't tell if the house was small and nearby or massive and far away. I remembered what my friends had told me about giants, that they lived and breathed illusions.